We have a new feature called JSON Mode, which ensures that the model will respond with valid JSON. This has been a huge developer request. It'll make calling APIs much easier.
Okay, OpenAI recently announced the new JSON mode for their APIs. Now it basically allows developers to get JSON output from the language models. It is available in the GPT 3.5 Turbo model and the GPT 4 model. And in this video, we'll explore what exactly is the JSON mode. We'll write some code to see how it exactly works. And then we'll try to answer the question whether we should start using it right away or not. If you're new to this channel, my name is Mohammed Shahrukh and I make videos on coding and how you can use it to build powerful and meaningful stuffs. Okay, so what exactly is the JSON mode? So as we know that the chat completion API by OpenAI allows us to get response from the language models like GPT 3.5 Turbo and GPT 4. But the problem with that is that the response is mostly in the format of text. Now, developers might not be very comfortable using the text format and then passing it according to their needs, because they might be developing applications which might need the response as a JSON format. So developers have been mostly working around this issue by setting a system message and telling the model to give me a JSON. But does it work every time? And the answer is no, it doesn't. Sometimes the model might throw a curveball and it gives a response that is not a valid JSON. So that troubles the developers and they don't know how to exactly use the response. So looking into these problems, OpenAI introduced the new JSON mode, which does guarantee that the output will be a JSON. Okay, now let's see the JSON mode in action. Now for that, I have just opened up my text editor. I have my OpenAI API keys as environment variables, and I have installed the OpenAI library. Now, the first thing which I'll do is that I'll import OpenAI. Next, I'll do is to create a client. Now, we don't have to pass in the API key explicitly if we have it set in our environment variable. Now, we'll just go ahead and just call the completions API. For that, I'll do client.chat.completions.create. Now, this will expect few parameters like the model. Now, for the model, we'll have to pass in the new model name, which is GPT. This one I'll just use 3.5 Turbo, and 1106 is the model name. After that, this is the new parameter which needs to be passed on, which is response format equals the type of JSON object. Now next, we need to pass in the messages. Now messages are basically the messages which we want to pass to the chat completion API. This can have three forms of messages, like the user, the assistant, and the system message. I'll just go ahead and just copy the few messages directly from the documentation, just to save some time. So over here in the messages, I have that you are a helpful assistant designed to output JSON. And the user is asking for what were the results of the last football World Cup. The response should include the number of matches won by all the teams. Now, just to start with, let's go ahead and try out this example. And we'll just try to print response dot choices dot first. Okay, so let's run the code. Python JSON mode. Okay, so here we have the output, and the finish reason is a stop. Now finish reason is very important. We'll just discuss why it is so. And the response is this JSON. So let me just print the response this time. Choices.message.content. Now there you see that the response is a valid JSON over here. It tells me the winner, the runner-up, the top scorer, and year. Okay, so now we'll just try to tweak the messages. Now, as per the documentation, when we are using the JSON mode, we should instruct the model somehow that the JSON has to be outputted by the model. So for example, if I just remove JSON from over here, so in this example, I'm telling the model to output a JSON via this system message. So if I just remove this from the system message, so it'll throw an output error. So let's try that. You are a helpful assistant designed to output JSON. So I'll just type in you are just a helpful assistant, and just try out the same code. Now you'll see that OpenAI throws an error that message must contain the word JSON in some form. Okay, so now that is one thing to keep in mind when using the JSON mode. Okay, so now let's try a different prompt this time. So I asked what were the results of the last Football World Cup. Now let's try to modify the prompt and ask it to give me the goals by every team. So also give me the goals by every team. Now let's see if it is able to understand and it give me a valid JSON. So yeah, it gave me the JSON and it looks like a valid JSON, of course. Now let's try something even more difficult. Also give me the top scorers from every team. Now over here you can see that the output is of just France and Croatia, but I asked it to give me the output for every team. So probably it's not able to understand the prompt properly, or maybe I can just do some prompt engineering and get the output. Okay, so it gives me the output. Now this time it has given me the top scorers by team as a key, and the results are from 4 countries, but I asked it for every country anyways. So it looks pretty interesting, and the thing to note here is that it is giving me a valid JSON. Now this brings us to the last part of this video, where I'll mention, like, should we just go ahead and start using it, or are there anything that we should keep in mind when using the JSON mode? So as per the documentation, there are a few things that you need to keep in mind when using the JSON mode. First of all, the first thing which you need to take care is that you should also always mention that you need the output as JSON message, and you should either send it as a system message or as a prompt, but you should mention that you need the JSON output. And that's what we saw in the code as well. When we are not passing it, it was giving us some error. And the next thing that we need to keep in mind is that we should always check for the finish reason. Now, if the valid JSON which we receive as an output is very long and it is exceeding our max tokens, in that case, the finish reason will be length. So let's try to see this thing in code. So I will just ask the model for the winner, the results of the World Cup, Football World Cup, and I have passed the max tokens as 2, and I'm just printing the choices, the first choices. Now let's see what is the output. So over here you can see that the finish reason is length, and the output is not a valid JSON. So as you can see, it's just a single curly brace with a new line. So it's not a valid JSON, and so the thing is that you should always check for the finish reason, and if it is length, then you should probably like try to increase the max token or try some other adjustment. The finish reason should ideally be stop. So that brings us to the question that whether we should start using the JSON mode in our application or not. And according to me, the answer is not yet, because the JSON mode does not guarantee a specific schema of JSON. It does only guarantee that the output will be a valid JSON. So in most of the applications that we build, we often require the JSON as a particular format. It should have a particular schema, but that is not something which the JSON mode guarantees at the moment. So maybe in the future versions, it does guarantee to have a particular schema. In that case, it will be a very powerful tool for us. In conclusion, JSON mode is a very powerful tool, and it does make the life of a developer easier, as it does guarantee valid JSON every time. Now, give it a try and let me know in the comments below that how is it working out for you. Don't forget to like this video and share it with your friends. Now, also subscribe to the channel if you would like to see more such content. And until then, happy coding and happy creating.